We are on a mission.
A mission to save and revitalize independent pharmacy.
On the Catalyst Pharmacy podcast,
you will get actionable business advice,
hear stories from industry leaders,
and share a laugh with us.
Fuel your passion for pharmacy,
one conversation at a time.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how are y'all?
Good.
How are you?
We were listening to Bad to the Bone as a kind of our intro.
Yes.
We decided
Nice.
that's Tiffany's song today. It's
I feel like that
Bad
was
to
very
the Bone.
Tiffany-esque.
Yeah. Is that how you feel about yourself, Tiffany?
Oh, do now.
I do now.
Do today.
I do
Loving
today.
that energy. Loving that
Today.
energy. She rides motorcycles, right?
I know it.
No,
It's
yeah,
very
of
cool.
course.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this. Always, you have such energy. I always see you smiling and talking to people on the trade show floor and getting stuff done. So I think this is exciting. You've met both of us, right?
I've met you. I've not met Mark.
I don't think me and
haven't?
Tiffany have officially met before.
Okay.
No.
Mark Bivens, SVP of Sales.
Yep.
Something like that, I heard.
Something
Yeah.
like that. Yep.
Mark was in the Air Force and then came to work in the drug business, drug side of it first, in
do.
340B.
I see you join the Navy now behind you.
Yeah, my dad
up with
and my grandfather were in the Air Force.
Okay, right on.
So,
I knew you were
yeah.
cool people.
So why the Navy join the Navy? Is it kind of a rebellion? Is it kind of a Navy Air Force kind of thing?
It's a cool
So
story.
we've got the Navy, and then this is actually a bulletin board from a captain's quarters from the Coast Guard, from a decommissioned ship.
Is that what that is? I was wondering if it
Yeah.
was like an old safe or something. I was like, what is that?
No. So I just got into collecting antiques with my dad and my grandfather, and this is what they pass on to me. So
All right, right on. Right on. I'm terrible at finding anything old and good. Bad. Old and bad. I remember Marcia brought me, or I found something and I was like, hey, this is great. Look how cool this looks. And she's like, Mark, that's from like a gift store. That's not, I thought it was an antique. And she like showed it to me as this thing where I was like, oh man, all this history or whatever. And she's like, Mark, look at the bottom of it. I was like, oh, she's like, it's from the Hallmark store, dude. It's like,
hey, if you like
that
it.
was my first and last foray into trying to do anything.
It's like kind of a
antique-related.
Homer Simpson moment.
She was like, dude, what are you doing? So anyway.
So what the heck are you up to? So what's going on this week? Tell us about Tiffany this week. What you up to?
This week, wow. Coming down off of Thanksgiving,
Okay.
just catching up and getting things amped up and ready for December and then January, I'm in that planning phase.
All right. So nothing exciting going on, Flip the Pharmacy or anything like that?
Oh, there's always something exciting going on. with Flip the
what's
Pharmacy.
exciting?
Let's talk about that.
Okay. I guess let's start with my pride and joy of being a part of Flip the Pharmacy. I'm so fortunate to work with so many people in the coordinating center with them and CPESN and Tyson Drugs, but Max My Sync. So we do Workflow Wednesdays, which are a series of weekly webinars that there's different channels and programs. But again, my favorite being Max My Sync. I get to work with Weston Humphreys and Chelsea Anderson out
from
at
Bob's,
Tyson
yeah.
Drugs.
Yeah.
She's name dropping. Did you
I
see
know,
that?
I know.
See that?
We'll have to tag
Yeah.
them. We'll have to tag them in the post or something.
I gotta throw it at Joe Moose.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just felt like I needed to throw that name. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, you know what? I was texting them. We call ourselves the trio. I was texting them this morning. I said, look, I'm about to get on this podcast for Catalyst. I said, Weston, give me a joke, because he's always known for starting out everything with a joke.
Oh, I love
Okay,
this.
I love it. So tell us Weston's joke.
You ready?
Yes.
He instead of a dad joke, he wants me to bring up the fact that Jeff told him that we were Pioneer Gladiators, I believe is
Okay.
the word.
Okay.
So
Sounds right.
Because we're all Pioneer users, and so every time we're out there talking about MedSync and how we've implemented it, he said that you called us Pioneer Gladiators to pick at you for that. So we're unpaid employees.
Okay. Unpaid employees.
1099, right?
Yeah. One of those. So one of the philosophies there at Gladiators are, and I guess Gladiators can't fall.
You did a Patriots missionary
Yeah,
thing.
I always
You've done a lot of that.
think about in business, patriots and mercenaries. And a lot of times business people try to be like, hey, if you'll go tell somebody to get our product, we'll give you $300, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I do that, you're a mercenary, right? What I want you to do is to do something because you love it and because you fill a glass up so full and it flows over the top, right? You want to fill that glass up so full that it just flows out and gets on everything, right?
Yeah.
And
you
that's
might use the word patriot.
And the people in Flip the Pharmacy, it's what it's about. And you see the people like all these leaders and the kind of people we like to get on the show, and people like you are people who are doing way more than they're getting paid for, right?
Right.
They're giving and giving and giving, and their success comes because of what comes back. And that patriot kind of piece.
Yeah, all day.
I love that you brought that up, because with like CPESN and Flip the Pharmacy and just everything, you meet so many people that are thought leaders. And I listen to this podcast. I follow a lot of the thought leaders and luminaries and mentors all the time. And it's just so nice to get to network with them outside of just listening to podcasts or seeing their stuff, their CEs. So it's just been so great to meet everybody and learn from everybody. Like what you said, you're just kind of they give back, and then everybody learns together.
And to me, what's cool and how we define pharmacy leaders is based on what they give, not based on what they've done. Right. What they're given to others.
Yes. And speaking of, like, I'm going to go back to Max My Sync and some of those webinars that you host. Are those are programs to where really, I don't think you have to be in a Flip the Pharmacy cohort to even watch. Or do you? Or do you? You tell me about that.
Okay. And that's one of the things that we try to keep getting out there, is that you don't have to be in CPESN or Flip the Pharmacy cohorts to utilize the Flip the Pharmacy resources. It's sponsored and funded by CPF, Community Pharmacy Foundation. I know if Marsha ever listens to this, she's going to want me to tell you what my acronyms stand for. But so it's all open access. It's free resources for pharmacies to leverage today and use. So one of my passions is in obviously elevating your technicians and staff development. So use those. Your staff can join, whether you're joining live or looking at the website. Like, they're all recorded. There's so many change packages and resources that were created long before me that I used before I actually joined. So there's just a backlog of information that is so good.
Yeah. And I would recommend that you do that as a march. Don't be like, hey, sometime I'm going to go out there and look at the resources. I saw an interesting fact that said, if you spend 18 minutes a day on something for a year, you'll be better than it than like 90% of the country, right?
Oh, wow.
Just 18 minutes a day. So, and maybe you could do that like 40 minutes one day and something like that. But I think those resources as free in where a pharmacy is heading, carve out some time. Don't like, hey, when I get around to it, say, hey, between this time and this time, every day or these 4 days, I'm going to work on these resources, right? And I'm gonna think about it and plan.
What's
it.
good about their content? It's in chunks like that. It's not in like, hey, here's this 4-hour class you have to like try to sit there and make time for and sit down with. It's like 30-minute chunks a lot of the times, where it's like, hey, come in and get this. And I think you guys host it sometimes like once a week or every other week or something like that.
Max by Sync is every Wednesday or the first 4 Wednesdays. So if we end up with a 5th one, we're taking the week off. But they're all just different best practices and tangible information that you can take back right now. And we're on the bench. We've done it. We're have really good MedSync programs that are benefiting our pharmacy. And like what Jeff said, we just want to keep giving back and showing other pharmacies how to do it. And
your pharmacy is, tell everybody.
Galloway Sands Pharmacy. So we're in southeastern North Carolina.
Love North Carolina. And what percentage of your patients are on Sync?
Yeah, let's add some credibility here.
Okay, so we've got 2 locations.
Okay.
And separately, one is at 70% and one just broke the 60%, which we're super proud of.
Yeah, so everybody listening, it can happen. You can do it.
Yeah.
Now, for you guys, what was the transition point where it went from being in the way, and we'll use the RedSail stuff, when it went from being an anchor to a sail, right? When it went from dragging you down to actually propelling you forward?
Sure. So I'm in this really neat position that I got to do it twice, right? So we had 2 locations, and so I've been with Galloway Sands for 11 years. And when we started MedSync, it was in my primary location at the time. And it was just something I'd heard about. I actually thought we were behind, that everybody else was doing it, but we weren't. That's what I kept hearing. And so when we started that, I would say you start to see some efficiencies and a flip at that 30% mark.
Yep.
But I would argue that that's not it, because you're starting to see it then, and that's when your staff is starting to see it. But at 50% is where you're gonna
life changing. Yeah. So all you guys who like, I tried it, and you put 8 patients on it, start over. You didn't do it right. You like said, I'm gonna diet, and you skipped dessert one meal.
I feel attacked.
Right. Sorry. You didn't try it. You didn't do it. You started a workout program and you lifted one weight, right? You have to get 30, you're here now 50% before it really makes a difference.
And what I love too, or not love, I guess it's an irony, I guess. I don't love it. When you talk to people at trade shows and different pharmacies, you say, okay, well, who here tracks their MedSync percentage? And people are like, oh yeah, I have a MedSync program. And they say, well, what's your percentage? They say, well, I have 600 patients on it. And I say, well, what's your bill, what your prescription volume that you fill every day? What is that percentage? And they don't know. And so if you have 600 patients, that's great if you have a really small pharmacy. But if you're a larger pharmacy with 3 and 4 locations, that may be 10%, if that. And so you're really not seeing that efficiency.
Yep.
What from like staff impacts do you see that you've got to experience, since you've done it twice now, and you've probably got to watch a staff go from like, I don't know about this, to
go from mercenaries to patriots.
To go to
I'm doing this because you pay me to.
Right.
So I'm doing it because I love it.
To like, oh my God, I can't imagine doing this a different way.
I think it happens before they realize it, and that's such a question we get all the time. It's about staff buy-in, right?
Yeah.
So I first and foremost, and we hear this all the time, but I'll just reiterate it, that you want your technician to lead that program. And it's more than just, it is because the pharmacist needs to work at the top of their license doing those clinical services that only the pharmacist can do, but also because from technician to technician, you learn faster and you get a quicker buy-in.
Okay.
So you know how to speak to other technicians, and without your technicians all in, it's going to fail. And so from a communication perspective, I'm a communication studies lover of all things interpersonal and communication. So you come at it, everybody learns differently. You meet people where they're at, right? So there's always the why, but what's the why for that person? Mm-hmm. So if you are just, you want some of the younger staff wants purpose, right? They want to feel like they're coming to work with a purpose. So you're giving back to your community. You're having better patient outcomes. They're more adherent. You have technicians like myself who the whole reason I got like super involved and love this is there's the business side of it. So you get to see, let's track it. Let's see how we can improve the business with MedSync. And then also just simply saying there's no other choice. Like, I can give you all the benefits, but this is what we're doing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. There's a little bit of, you just got to charge the hill.
Right.
Yeah. And trust me. And I say that a lot. I'm like, trust me. Okay. Just trust me. And if it doesn't work, we could try something else. But I need everybody all in first. And then if it stinks, if it sucks, to be honest, then we'll change it. Like, I'm not always right, but we've got to try it. We've got to be all in to see if it works.
Yeah. And especially with like techs coming from like Walgreens or CVS and high volume pharmacies or something like that, walking into a pharmacy like yours is got to be just a huge like environmental boost for them, just in general. Yeah. Randy talks about, so Randy writes for your newsletter, I believe, if I remember right.
Randy is the director of practice transformation. He's got all of the accolades. So.
Right. Randy McDonough, everyone. If
he leads our charge.
Yeah. And so he writes about creating that right environment all the time. And and when you read his stuff, and by the way, for Flip the Pharmacy, for folks who don't know it very well or don't follow it, that is a free newsletter he does, and you can only get Randy's writing, I think, at that newsletter. So go to flipthepharmacy.com and subscribe to that thing.
Yes, please do. And then we do we interview other pharmacies who have gone through Flip the Pharmacy and their success stories and their trials, and you get an inside look into other pharmacies and how they do it. Because again, we've all been through the same hurdles. We're just in our four walls every day.
All right, so I'm about to bust the bubble and say MedSync is Pharmacy 101. It's not right. It's not the pinnacle. It's the beginning, right? And so tell me the evolution of that for you guys. Now that you have 50 or 60%, what things are you doing on top of those calls? What are you, what are you adding? What is additive to not just the time it frees up in the pharmacy? What's additive to the MedSync process itself?
Right. So it is 101. I will give you that. But it's never too late to start. So there's so many pharmacies that are afraid to admit they don't have it. And so it's okay to start now, because the next year is going to come. And what did you do in that year, right? So if you don't have one, start now. And that's just the foundation. And what you'll realize is we talk about appointment-based model all the time. But with MedSync, you have an appointment at your hand, like at the ready. Right? So you're on the phone. You're right now able to call and say, hey, have you gotten your flu shot? We've got RSV in, like, of your COVID boosters. So those are all things you can add in. And then, so we got the adherence packaging literally right before COVID hit.
Okay.
So the machine kind of sat there while we did vaccines.
While you did, while you had to go through that. Mm-hmm.
So, and I know that every time I hear a pharmacy or a pharmacist or a technician say COVID, I want to like freak out because I'm so tired of hearing about it.
Yeah.
But the thing is that we had that. We were able to focus on adherence packaging. And back to your point, we were able to layer those in. So we had a really solid MedSync program. So everybody was already synced. It was so easy to go ahead and slide them into that adherence packaging. And we did the same thing with our patients that were super resistant. We said, trust us. Just trust us. Let us try it for a month or two. And if you don't like it, we'll go back. And it worked. Like now we're pumping those out faster than the machine can keep up with.
What percentage of the patients would you say that are in MedSync are also on the packaging?
We just hit about 30%.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So another thing about us, and I think for staff development and buy-in, is I track everything.
Yeah, it sounds like you're very metrics driven. Yeah.
I love it. But so does your staff. Like they can see the progress. They come to work and they see the impact they're having because we're tracking it. It's not just running a hamster wheel and going home.
Yep. Yeah. If you don't measure, it doesn't happen. Right.
Yeah. That's what I hear.
That's what I hear.
Start.
Measure what matters, right? Jeff's mantra has always been measure what matters.
Yep.
That's good. So I'm going to transition a little bit from Flip the Pharmacy. We'll probably come back to that, but you also are involved in CPESN. And also I was wanting to ask you about kind of the beacon piece, which is kind of new, I believe.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
So I would be remiss if I don't say that I almost dyed my hair blue for this because
that would have been great.
I
for
know.
The podcast? Is that what you're saying? For the podcast?
Yes, just specifically for this. I joke
I'm pretending that you have a Pioneer X logo on that sleeve, but I'm just going to pretend.
My appointment's set up. Right?
Okay.
Or a CPESN logo. Either way.
So the Serena, you have had her on.
Yes.
She's
yep.
rock star technician.
She is a rock star.
Hair. Meredy was on with Will, has pink hair.
Yep.
I said, they're both CPESN beacons to tie it all back in together. And so I thought maybe I need to have a trademark hair color, and blue seems available. So,
we might be able to do that with AI. We might be able to change it with the At this point, change your hair to blue. Snap.
We'll add it in post for sure.
We'll do it in post editing.
No, so CPESN beacons. So what we found and how I actually got started with CPESN and Flip the Pharmacy was the PS3, so Pharmacy Services Support Staff, right? So that's another webinar through Flip the Pharmacy that I'd like to mention. And so that's for your technicians and your support staff. Again, back to like, it's all led by technicians and support staff. So we're talking at the same level, so peer to peer, and getting your staff bought in from other pharmacies, right? So CPESN has the Luminary network.
Yep.
So those are all those thought leaders, those mentors, those people that are doing the work every day, but they're pharmacists. And so each network has luminaries. And now with technicians that are getting into elevated roles because of the transition and the practice transformation. So they need a network as well, right? So we have beacons. So they're counterparts to your luminaries. And the goal is here so that in your network, you have a beacon who's someone that your technicians, your support staff can reach out to. This similar to the way that pharmacists do luminaries.
That's huge.
But also having just that network of you're not alone, and this is a career that we can all grow together in.
Yeah, I love it.
That's huge. That's awesome.
And because it is super new, like, so we love if you're a pharmacist listening and you're CPESN, let us know. Like we want those rock star technicians, and it's not that we want to move them into like take away from their time. Because I heard the other day, Nicolette Matthey, I love her. I'm name dropping everywhere, but she was on one of our podcasts.
So are we, though. That's all right. That's what we do.
One of our webinars, she's so great, and she was so generous with her time. But she was talking about marketing. She said that with a technician, like if you have a really great technician, that pharmacists find they just keep giving them more and more work, right? So the technician keeps taking it because they do it. And so in her reference was that you want to give your technicians time to do the duties that you're like putting off on them, right? So CPESN beacons, we're not giving them just some extra work to do, right? But there are those patriots out there. There's technicians that are patriots for other technicians. So it's just a really awesome staff development, professional development.
Now, Serena works for CPESN full time now. Is that right? Did Serena?
I believe part-time.
Part-time.
She works with Washington State Board of Pharmacy.
Okay. Yeah, because I know she had left Carrie's pharmacy for a better opportunity.
She's knocking everything out of the park. There's nothing that I tell you. And without Flip the Pharmacy and CPESN, I mean, I was talking to you over the trade shows this summer. People are asking, like, what's in it for me, right? Everybody wants to know what's in it for them. And outside of just all of the payer opportunities and special purpose networks and things that you can get paid for the services that you're providing, you're also got this great network of people that are just so supportive and encouraging and teach you how to, these little tiny tricks that you could do in your pharmacy.
Yeah, so CPESN does CPESN Pharmacy of the Year. Did they do Pharmacist of the Year and Technician of the Year?
They did Luminary of the Year.
They did Luminary. So now they need to do, CPESN needs to do Beacon.
Beacon of the Year. That's true.
Somebody talk to Troy.
All right. It's probably already in the works, honestly. Because the Beacon part, isn't that new this year or last year? It kind of got started. It was a kind of a thought, an idea.
We could do it at CPESN, do the awards come on, and have a little gospel choir come out with This Little Light of Mine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let.
I've heard you say before that you just really want a choir.
I want the gospel choir. I'd want it really bad. I was just trying to figure out how to get it in there.
We got to work.
Got it now.
We got to work it
now.
in.
I need to sponsor the CPESN, the Luminary, and the Beacon of the Year. I need to have the gospel choir come out at NCPA and sing This Little Light of Mine.
That would be great.
That's right.
Honestly, that's perfect.
I mean, everybody can.
That's perfect.
I do love the karaoke, so I mean, I'm down.
I'm down. Well, if you've got a lead tech
or something with light,
and you're in CPESN or you haven't thought about it, if you have a lead tech that like wants another network to lean on or learn from, that's what the beacons are for.
What a great thing! Inspire them. Yeah, pharmacists can't do it all.
That's not anywhere really. Like if you think through it, I mean, I know NCPA has some technician programs for sure, but man, just as far as like joining, a reason to join, and if it's what's in it for me. Just the network alone of being able to lean on another pharmacist, or now if you got a super strong tech, lean on another tech.
And to me, you start getting reasons. You know, a lot of people are like, well, I'll join CPESN when they're doing something for me, right? When they get the thing in my state, when they get enough of it, blah, 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 right? But these connections and this kind of things could start to be reasons to be in there, right? You start building inspiration and
it's like a practice transformation network, really. Look at it that way.
Kind of like, what would we call something like that? Oh, flip the pharmacy.
Probably
That'd be a
flip the
great
pharmacy.
name.
Man, just came up with that.
Yeah.
What we do without you.
We're geniuses. Troy's like,
and another
morons.
thing, when those pharmacists and pharmacy owners that say like, what's in it for me? I don't think that they're necessarily the ones that are taking the first step, right? So they're not at the start of that bell curve. And that's okay, because you have network facilitators and luminaries in your network that will help you. They'll show you the different payer programs that are offered and get you set up and onboarding, and that just keep you going, right? So there's resources out there. It's not like you're thrown to the wind. There's people, great people that are on this podcast, people that we hear from all the time that are everywhere, that you have access to them.
Let's back off the cheerleading a little bit and move to the ball game, right? Let's move that ball, right? The ball is fun.
Yeah.
You're digging it. What's next? So you say I'm planning next year, right? You got your MedSync down. What's next? When you think about next year, what are the 4 or 5 things, or 2 or 3 things? What are you working on?
So it's twofold right now.
Okay.
First being we were behind the 8 ball in the LTC at home.
Okay.
So we're really focusing on that with our adherence packaging now that that's going. And then second, we had a lot of staff turnover in one of our locations. So we're just really trying to get that staff development back, that training.
What was the cause of the turnover?
Different. So we had...
You don't have to, we can cut it if you don't want to say.
And it happens, don't cut it. This happens to every pharmacy, right?
Okay.
Like it just happens. And it's almost like once, it's okay. It's easier to lose one person, right? But then when you lose 3, it's like, oh God, now I've got to come off the bench and I'll have to be a trainer.
Where did they go? Did they go to like work from home job somewhere? Or what did they go?
One went to work from home. One had a health thing. Okay. And then the other just, I don't think, had a heart for pharmacy, which was okay. You know, you want those people
no commonality, just a bad,
right?
Just a series of unfortunate events kind of thing.
Not a trend, just life.
Right.
Because one of the things that hit us was that COVID created this work from home culture, and we had a turnover in pharmacy techs from just they got jobs working for Amazon for $18 an hour, at home kind of thing.
Yeah, and so you don't want to just have bodies in your pharmacy because, again, back to the MedSync, if they don't know how to run that, if they don't understand the ins and outs of just the pharmacy terminology and how to actually bill a clean claim and just the basics, you have to start there because you're going to lose them if you don't. So they need to have a really, so I think that's a really important to focus on your people. And I'm going to spend, and I think we should spend some good time training and investing in those people.
Yeah, and hiring right too, right? Yeah. Like hiring right is so important.
It is, and it's also hard too, right? Yeah. So you get applicants, and then they may be few and far between, and so you need somebody.
Right.
So I would say get out there. If there's somebody, I've had so much success, and one of our lead technicians now in our Southport location is someone who she was waiting tables at Applebee's, and that's not a bad thing. I've been a waitress and a bartender and all of those other things. I love it, but she has the personality and the drive, and you go places, you go to the gas station, you go to fast food restaurants, and those people who just have those soft skills, ask them, like, do you want to come work with us? Because I can train you on how to fill a prescription and bill a vaccine or do adherence packaging or whatever, but I can't, it's harder to teach someone those soft skills.
Yeah. And the work ethic. You can, that's true. When you have a waiter or waitress and they're on it,
Yeah.
Yeah. You get a good 30-minute demonstration of
I tell you my new thing to try.
Work ethic.
I'm going to give you guys one. Okay. Whenever a waiter or waitress comes to your table, what do?
They say their name.
Yep. They say, hi, I'm Jeff Key and I'll be waiting you today. And what do? Look at them.
Usually you wait for them to tell you something else.
Right. What do we do in the world when somebody says, hello, my name is Jeff Key?
Yeah.
You go,
say, hey, Jeff.
Oh, you go.
A different environment, you're going to introduce yourself.
You go, hey, my name's Jeff, right? And this is Tiffany and Mark. Try that. It is a paradigm shift in them.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see them smile.
Yeah.
And your dining experience will change because you did that one thing, which is expected in every other social environment that you ever go in. But for some reason, we don't do it at a restaurant.
And there's studies that show that it matters to hear your name, right? So I don't know what the science behind it is, but use the person's name. And that goes with your staff too. If you're trying to get your staff to be motivated and when you walk in, say, hey, Cassidy, how's your day? Like simple things like that just go a long way.
Now imagine you have a new patient in the pharmacy and you introduce everybody.
Oh, that's neat. That's a really neat
Hey,
idea.
everybody. Tiffany's a new patient with us. Hey, Tiffany, this is Mark.
Yep.
My name's, Jeff. And welcome. You just kind of introduced them to the family. Every other social scenario in the world, when somebody new comes into that environment, you'd introduce everybody. Paradigm
That's a really
shift.
good idea.
I think you'd see a paradigm and watch what that person, that patient does. You'll see it in their face. You'll see it in what they talk about.
And watch it when they come in, even if they're repeat customers and patients of yours, that when they walk in the door and you say, hey, John, they light up the fact that you remembered their name.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully they try to remember yours.
Hey, and pro tip, if they tell you something on that MedSync call about their life, like, because they love to talk, right? So some patients you get on there and they may just drop something simple like, yeah, well, we're going on vacation next week to New York. Put that in their sync notes.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
Next month when you call, you say, hey, how was your vacation?
Yep.
You didn't never remember that if you didn't write that down.
So that was the whole original purpose of the second comments, not your critical comments, but your normal comments on things. But now putting in the sync comments,
it's so neat.
It's super interesting how this shifts. I tell you, I went to a little. Kelly and my wife and I went and stayed in a cabin out in the middle of nowhere just because we thought that would be fun, and see the stars, that kind of thing, because you don't get those in the city. And that morning we found there was some little hole in the wall breakfast place. Come to find out, it wasn't that hole in the wall. It was where they had filmed from Yellowstone. The scene where Jimmy took his fiance to eat. It was there, but the waitress was like, "Oh, I haven't seen y'all here before. What's your names?" Wanted to get our names and I want to remember your name. What? Next time you come here.
Right.
So what did she do?
Yeah.
She did a presumptive close, right? She says, you guys are coming back. And I was thinking in my mind,
she tricked you.
Oh, wow, how am I coming back?
You're like, oh, when are we coming back?
but I can tell you, if I come stay in this cabin again, I'm all right, get through here. I'm going to come back and eat here because she just told me I was.
tell people if they go to that area.
She just told me I was coming back.
Yeah, if you read it, like, I don't know if anybody have read like a Chris Voss book before, but it's a kind of a negotiation book, but it's a great book for like, and he talks about that so much. He talks about like, hey, when he's de-escalating, he was a hostage negotiator before this, but when he's de-escalating at all, first thing he does is he tells them their name. He tells them his name. He's like, oh, hey, I'm Chris.
Right.
And it starts to just let their guard down. Like, I'm a human. I'm a person.
Yep.
Right. I'm not this thing you can shout at now. Yep. I have a name and I have an identity now. And so it's such a great trick to build connection fast. It just is.
All right. So let's take a commercial break here. And Marsha's not here, but she was here. She'd be like, okay, we need to get into business.
We need to get into
We need to get back a little bit and tell us a little bit about your journey. Tell us how you got to be where you are today.
So I started as a technician in high school.
Okay.
This was after school job. And I was really just a cashier back in learning it. It was with a smaller chain. And
was this in the same city?
Yes.
Okay.
So it was, am I allowed to say it?
Sure.
I'm always so worried I'm going to say something I'm not supposed to say. So it was for car drug pharmacy. I don't know if you're familiar, but so it was a smaller chain, and the team I worked with felt like family. It was such a good, I loved it. And so then I went to college, and so I transferred to a CVS closer, just thinking all I had in mind was that pharmacy was this, right? So that's going to put me through college, and I absolutely hated it. So while I was there,
Boo, CPS.
I know.
At least that wasn't your first dose of pharmacy. Think about that. Like, think about if CVS
Then you
is your
would've
first
just
dose.
not done it. Yeah.
You just would have stopped altogether, probably. You probably just would have abandoned the whole thing.
All right, I'm sorry for interrupting with the boo. But it just
No,
came
that's
out.
okay. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Do it when I drive down the highway. So then Walgreens bought out Car Drug Pharmacy in our town. So they were coming in, and the team that was still at Car Drug didn't want to work there anymore because they didn't want to work for Walgreens. And then Kevin and Joey, the Galloway and Sands of Galloway and Sands, saw an opportunity to open a second location in Southport. So they came in, and my mentor, pharmacist who is just amazing, I worked with at Car Drug, and everybody loves him because he does remember people's names, and he's just such a good person, taught me so much. His name's Brad Nair, and they came in, they asked him, said, hey, we're thinking about opening a second location. Would you be interested? Because they knew from a smart business perspective, he's going to bring everybody from that Car Drug Walgreens. Sure. And then, but they also said, but I need you to help build the team. So he called and asked if I'd be interested in working at an independent pharmacy. And I thought, I have no idea if I do or don't. And I've never thought about it, but I knew I hated CVS. I knew I was still in college. So I was like, and it was a little bit of a drive, but I said, you know what? I'll do it. I can always go back to
What'd you study in college?
Communication studies.
Okay, so that was communication. Okay.
Yeah, concentrated on organizational communication. So at that time, I had no intention on pharmacy being my career. I was thinking I'd be more like human resources, something like that. But we got in there. It was just so neat to get like back with the old team, right? Mm-hmm. And a couple new people.
Getting the band back together.
Build my first claim with the independent community pharmacy, and I saw it pop up, and it said how much money we were making, and at least we were making something at this time, right? So it showed, and I was like, well, that's weird. That I should be. I'm in somebody else's like system. Like I shouldn't be able to see that, right? Like I don't own this business, but they were like, no, like that's how we make money. Like if we make money and we're successful, like that's how we keep our doors open. And something inside me just flipped. I was like, and I don't know if it's just like a survivor instinct or something, but I was like, we got to make money, right? This has to happen. Yeah. So I just did everything I could to learn about the business side of it. And I love that. I love the business coaches I've had that talk about KPIs and tracking it. I didn't do that 11 years ago. Now it's just embedded in me.
Okay.
So,
you kind of led to it. Who's been the most influential person on your life in pharmacy? Not personal, in pharmacy.
Oof. I was about to say my dad. Just
yeah, I know. That's why I had to say in pharmacy.
Oh.
You can list more than one if you have to.
Okay, but I'm going to list one that I think his name is Bill Hilker.
Okay.
He is actually who hired me in high school on that Car Drug team. And he was the me of then. So if that makes sense. So he was me back then.
Okay.
And so he tells everybody now that he was my boss, but now I'm his boss.
Nice.
But he's 78 and he's my absolute best friend. But he has taught me so much about like when I took
what a
on
great
taking
story. That
over,
gave me
like,
chills.
Yeah, I took over taking staff scheduling, and he was like, I said, everybody wants days off, and I don't know what to do. And he was like, you just do a rotation. Let me show you. So he did like 3 weeks because his math brain. And so I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. So he's just taught me so much about those things. And it's so funny now he works for our pharmacy, and he does so much for us. And we did business cards for everybody, kind of like investment, right? So everybody was going to do a business card. So whenever somebody new comes in and they help them, hey, my name's Tiffany. Like here's my card.
Yeah, that's kind of what you talked about. Yeah, that's a different version of it. Yeah.
So he did one, and so we did everybody's job titles on there, and he was like, well, what's my job title? And he said, I'm director of a little bit of everything. So that's what we put it on his name tag and everything.
Director of a little bit of everything. I love it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I've coined myself as the chief coffee maker typically.
Yeah. So. I enjoy the size of our company and that what we can get done for a pharmacy. But I just love hearing you talk about the intimacy of
I think that's what makes
the pharmacy like that. Yeah. And just
that's what makes any pharmacy
the agility and the relationships and it's just super cool.
That's huge. Well, what else? So we're gonna keep going down this thread of we're gonna get out of the business part of it.
We're gonna tell us about our dogs.
Marsha, yeah, I want to hear about what else outside of your pharmacy life you're into and you're doing.
Okay. So we talked. I had to do some antiquing. I know we just talked about, but Jeff mentioned my dogs, so got to bring those up.
Mark had said you had some cool dogs. I don't know where he'd seen.
Yeah. We social stalk before every podcast, just FYI.
Oh my gosh.
And you look like your dogs are, 1, important, and 2, adorable. So.
Yeah, so remember if you ever seen, there was a Looney Tunes where they did where different owners were walking different dogs, and the owners looked kind of like the dogs. You remember that?
Oh, yeah. I think 101 Dalmatians was back in the day. I don't know if anybody watched the old Disney 101 Dalmatians. It was like that.
All right, so tell us about your dogs.
So I've got 2 Australian Shepherds.
Oh, nice.
I've got 1 mutt. She's this brat terrier chihuahua, tiny dog advocate. She is so cool. And a lab that found me. So
4. Okay.
Yeah. And then I just, my dad and my brother have chickens, and they found a kitten in the chicken coop. I was on my way home from NCPA this year, and they called me and they were like, you want a kitten? And I was like, I guess so. So now I've got a chicken kitten living in my house.
How does a kitten get in the chicken coop?
Their mama. She took them in there and then left her.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's fun. But yeah, so I got my first Australian Shepherd during COVID, and we were closed door, and I was like, if I'm coming and pulling all these long hours, I got to bring my puppy, right? So they were like, that's fine. You can bring your puppy. And she just turned into the pharmacy dog.
Is she a pharmacy dog then?
She's a pharmacy dog.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's her energy level?
Oh, so good.
That's one thing you hear about the negatives about Australian Shepherds is they're a working dog, and so you got to exercise them a lot. Is that true for her?
It's true for both of them.
Okay.
But I would say they do have a lot of energy, but they're so smart. They know when to turn it off. So she knows when she comes in the pharmacy, like, it's off.
Interesting.
So, and it's just, and now she can't, I actually spoiled her. She has separation anxiety. I think she'd rather go to work more than I would. So
interesting. My son has an Australian Shepherd full-size poodle mix, and that is an awesome
neat
dog.
That would be great if they didn't shed. That would be awesome.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Oh, that's fair.
He doesn't shed,
Mine
and
do.
just looks like human eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Just such a cool dog.
That is true about that dog. I remember going, I feel like it's looking into my soul.
Into my soul. So he's bringing the dog home for Christmas. So
that's true.
Good.
Right on.
He's driving 8 hours to do that, or 7 hours. I'm like, you bringing the dog?
It's family. It's family. So you have so you got the pharmacy dog, okay, and you've got a chicken cat.
Mm-hmm.
How accepting? This is a stupid question, but how accepting of the chickens were of the cat? So like, was it living in there? Like,
yeah. So chickens free roam during the day, right?
Okay. Right.
At night they come back. So I guess they were sitting on the porch and they heard the kitten crying, and so they were like, "That's coming from the chicken coop." And so they went out there and found it. So I just assumed the chickens let it live or didn't mess with it. I have no idea.
Such a weird.
I caught a little country there in the there. Did you hear that?
A little bit. The draw kicked in.
She starts on about the chickens and the chicken coop and the porch, and had to bring the country out there.
For sure. And then the other thing, I think we talked about it a little. I mentioned it. You ride motorcycles? Is that true?
I do.
Wow.
What kind?
I love it. I've got a Iron 883. It's a Harley Sportster.
Okay, got it.
Wow, sounds.
I have to go broader for me to even understand what it is.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like you get too specific.
I don't ride as much as I like, just because there's so much going on. But I love it. It's so nice just to get out there and then nobody can talk to you, right? Mm-hmm. So you're on the motorcycle. Even if they called you or wanted you, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Is that a family thing?
Mark's like, I need to ride motorcycles.
Dude, I saw one the other day that I was like, gosh, this would make you buy one.
I want time when no one can talk to me.
Is that like a family thing? Is that how that got started, or how'd you get into that?
Yeah, my dad rode motorcycles. He's a mechanic, and one thing I wanted to just say for everybody that's ever listening, he said you can't break it, and if you break it, you can fix it. And so that's always in my mindset, like getting anything I do with the pharmacy. I'm like, and I tell all of our staff and team, I say, just try it. You can't break it. And if you break it, we can fix it, right? Nothing's
I love fixable. That. That's good.
So
good. I'm going to use that.
Rode
I've had to fix a lot.
Yeah. He rode motorcycles, and it was just kind of something that was, I guess, in my blood. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. So
Right on.
here I am.
Here you are.
All right, so
Cool
bring
as
him
heck.
back to the world. What's next for CPESN? What's the big? I know they're working on the whole having some kind of medical person in the pharmacy or some kind of subscription.
Yeah.
In your mind, what's coming up for CPESN?
So I just feel like there's so much coming down the pipe, right? So it's so different than the CPESN I knew or anybody knew a couple of years ago. So there's special purpose networks. So if you're in a network or a state that doesn't have payer programs right now, these special purpose networks are something that can get you paid right now.
Okay.
And it's not just geographic specific. I think what you're talking about is Big Tree Medical,
Right.
which is what Ashley Moose did. And she's just so awesome. It's such a neat concept to bring a practitioner into your pharmacy, and it's all cash based. So I would recommend anybody that hasn't looked at CPESN lately or is in CPESN and isn't maximizing their opportunities, either get on that website or reach out to your network facilitator, because there's so many opportunities. And also there's it's that outside of just special purpose networks, there's the special purpose efforts. So Flip the Pharmacy being one of those,
Yep.
but also business intelligence. So it helps your pharmacy dig into the data and your area around you and opportunities that you may be missing. And if you're not a pharmacist who's great at digging into your data, get into business intelligence, because it's going to give you opportunities further than what you even imagined. So there's just so many things out there for pharmacies to maximize.
Are y'all doing anything in your pharmacy with either subscriptions or like the Big Tree similar, some type of physician?
No.
Okay.
We're not. The reason being is, I guess it would be two things, is that our space is limited. So we're definitely going to have to expand, because you have to, in order for Big Tree, you have to have a space, right? So we would have to look into that. But one of the special purpose networks that CPESN has is that physiatrists at home, so PPC at home.
Okay.
So I didn't know what a physiatrist was. I had to get SWAT to explain it to me, because I was like, are you making words up?
Well, for those listeners who don't know, tell us.
For someone who doesn't know, I would love to know what it is.
Good. I'm gonna do my best to explain it the best way that SWAT and Amina would. But they are a practitioner that is for in your rehab. They're providers and doctors and that can go into, instead of just being in your rehab center, when you're discharged, they can actually be at home with you. So you get your hip replaced, right? And so you're in that rehab for a little bit. You go to PT, but what happens when you're at home and that's over? So creating a plan and having them, you're meeting the patients where they're at, and you're also getting paid for that service. So you're partnering with that provider. It's
kind of occupational therapy type, like home planning kind of modifications and things like that.
It's just a care plan, right? So accountability. So getting in there, teaching them those exercises. They've got the stationary bike, things like that. So that, and then being able to track it and report back their outcomes. So definitely get into we also have, and I think they're on NCPA's website, every special purpose network that we have right now has created a video and a webinar that explains exactly what's going on. And so look into it. I mean, there's so many opportunities so back to your question, for our pharmacies that maybe don't have space, that's a really good avenue to go into, because these chains are going there. They realize that all these patients and customers that are the baby boomers are going to be home. Where we got to get there.
Yeah,
it's almost like rehab at home.
Yeah. What about the subscriptions? Y'all thinking anything about subscriptions? And I know CPESN's talking about a subscription model, so much a month gets you these extra services. Maybe there's a tier of drugs that are included in the subscription. Are y'all tying with any of that?
I think that's back to Big Tree. And if I was going to spin off of that, so Big Tree it's a $70, or you could set your price, right? So, but that gives you unlimited access, healthcare access to that provider, and then also a list of medications that's included. But if we were, for pharmacies that don't have that, and to your subscription model, we could lump in, like we could do our delivery's free. We have delivery service, but only if you're on MedSync and only if you're, and we do it once a month for those adherence packages. So we could lump all of our services together and do a subscription model. It's just something we haven't done.
Yeah.
I think everybody's leaning that way though.
Yeah, I think it's curious. I think there is a lot of direction going there. As more and more stuff gets generic and can be cash based, and just really selling people on the service side of it. We want to go to employers and say, "Hey, we have these services to you, but we're not doing them in the bundle that people pay for." Right.
Right.
And so we're doing those things for free today. So Mr. Business Guy, you should pay us for this. Or
I know.
Or hey, Mr. PBM, or health plan, you should pay us for these things we're doing for free. Well, no, we have a model. We have a subscription model where this is what a person pays to get these things. Here's proof that we can do it. And here's what it costs. It's kind of establishing the value by charging for those services in a subscription.
And I think if you really put all of your services together, everything that your pharmacy provides patients for free, and put it into a bundle, people would be shocked at how much that is, like how much value is in that, because they're coming in and they're utilizing one of those things. So if you can bundle it, and then just for patients or businesses that you're going to offer it to, just presenting them with all of this opportunity, whether or not they use it, it still kind of makes everybody loves a subscription.
Yep.
They feel like they've got something, right? So bundling all of your services up and looking at that, like stepping back, I think is a huge thing that pharmacies don't even realize all that they do.
Well, even a plan like the over 50 subscription, you're going to do a cognitive test. There's a little piece of hardware where the person goes in and takes a test, gives them a score. Right. You imagine giving somebody a score every year so they can see if that changes. So I'm interested. I talk to every different pharmacy. Hey, how are you thinking about subscriptions? How are you thinking about, because if we get enough pharmacies offering a subscription, you establish value of those services and start being something that's being charged for. If you have something that you're charging for already, then you have a better chance of getting payers to pay for something that you're already charging.
Yeah, you got a market-based value, right?
Right.
I think that's what the PBMs piece. You have to have a market value to it. Make sure it's like a Galloway Sands Plus is what it sounds like. Yeah,
and I would love to throw in that you could add like the MTMs in there. So there's so many people, because we are for one of our locations is a retirement community. So often we get their kids coming in and saying that we got to go back home, but we know that something's wrong. Can you help us? And so we'll sit down and we'll go through it. And it's so life-changing for them. And that's worth something to people.
Yeah.
They don't have to be our patients now, but if they knew that there was a pharmacy that was trying to take care of their parents.
Yeah, we are going through that today with my wife's parents are in assisted living. And multiple doctors, and it's just not good. The help that they're getting on their drugs is just not good. The doctors aren't good. My wife's really having to play Dr. Internet and calling the doctors and telling them why are they still on this? Well, people don't usually get off of this. Yeah, but people don't usually get off of dialysis. It's just, I keep threatening to find a different pharmacy for them.
Yeah, that's a value I'd pay for, like for peace of mind, so that you can walk away and be like, I have to leave, like you said, but knowing someone else has this and's watching either the regimen or their overall health is, and whatever services a pharmacy feels like they can provide and wrap around for that.
Yeah. And I train our staff too to look for, like what Jeff, you just said, like those multiple doctors. So if you're on the sync call and you see a patient that has multiple doctors, like get to know who those doctors are. Like, are they a pain management? Are they a PCP? Like things like that. But then if you see that they're on two different maintenance medications prescribed by two different doctors, the likelihood that other doctor knows, how many times do we call and just double check? And they're like, no, we didn't know that.
Right.
Kind of thing. So just those small things that I don't even think the staff realize matters so much in the patient outcome. So a little bit of tips.
Cool. Well, as you thought about our journey today on the podcast, is there something you wanted to get across to everybody that I want to make sure I talk about blank?
Oh, I think we hit on it heavy. Flip the Pharmacy and CPESN, that there's free resources, there's staff development, elevate your technicians, there's CPESN beacons. There's so much out there outside of, it's so easy to feel alone, and the negativity of the DIR cliff and things come down the pipe. So just get with the people who are in it with you and be positive. If you break it, we can fix it. But it's cool. We're all in this together.
I love it. We'll put all the resources, I think, in the show notes. So that they're all there, like the free resources that are available, dip your toe if you're not already a member, and things like that of those things. And then, what's available, and then all the Beacon Network, all that stuff. We'll put all that stuff in the show notes.
That'd be awesome.
Well, this has been fun. I feel like
it's been great.
I feel like you're the next generation pharmacy leaders, kind of.
I felt like this was an initiation.
You do? This is initiation?
Yeah. I listened to all the podcasts and I'm like, wow. I saw my FedEx truck pulling in with the special case, and I was like, oh, what am I going to do with this?
Oh, I appreciate everything you do and all the energy and the smiling face in the trade show and all you do for CPESN and everything. Yeah. And I know that giving is going to continue to give back to you, and it's going to be fun watching your career continue to grow and see what things you get to do in the future.
Well, thank you. Thank y'all for having me. I appreciate all your support.
Have a great day.
All right.
Bye, y'all.
All right. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching the Catalyst Pharmacy Podcast.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and follow us wherever you get your podcast.
Give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts to help us reach more pharmacy professionals like you.